Welcome to the People in Your Neighborhood show. Remember that skit on Sesame Street from when you were young, where they would come on screen and they would sing a happy song about the people in your neighborhood, and then they would introduce you to some of the different people that work in your neighborhood? That's what we do here. We introduce you to some of the people that work in your neighborhood. So once again, welcome and enjoy learning about some of the people that work in your neighborhood. Hello to all our watchers, listeners, and readers out there. I'm Jeremy Lott, and I'm the host of the People in Your Neighborhood show. Today we're talking with Boyd Peterson from BP Media, Big Picture Media, isn't that correct?
Yep, that's it.
And we're going to talk today a little bit about his unique offering to the world. So Boyd, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Well, I'm Boyd Peterson. I've done marketing and sales for too many decades. So anyway, I do a lot with social media now and help people figure out how to get social media so it'll actually work for them. And there's a lot of people out there that they've tried it and they spend a lot of time at it and they're going, I can't afford that much time. There's other people that they say, oh, it costs too much, or they're not getting an ROI when they do get it going right. And that's my job. I'll help you figure out how to do it. So, and we have all kinds of programs for people to use.
Perfect. Thank you very much for being on the show today. I really do appreciate you coming by. And I'll have you start off by letting us know what is unique about your business. What's your unique solution you offer?
Well, thanks for asking. We do things a little differently than any of the other agencies, the digital agencies that are out there. We have programs for people who are just starting the business and they don't have a lot of money. And so we have a do-it-yourself programs and tools and trainings and things like that that can help anybody anytime they want. In fact, we have a training every Tuesday at 2:15 that's an hour long of different subjects every week. And so that's a good one. But we also have our do-it-yourself program, as I mentioned, and it's tools and techniques and things like that that helps you get going. We have tools for that. We have also a program where we do things with clients. And so we have a lot of people that we do that with. And it's not just us taking everything over and then charging you a bunch of money. It's us figuring out what's best for you. And so whether it's you're a do-it-yourselfer, you want it done with you, or you want it done for you, that's what we do. And it's social media, but it's also some digital stuff too. So we do email marketing, we have text messaging, we have programs where we can help you with your website if you want. We've got a partner that does that. So yeah, we do a lot of different things.
That's really great because I do know a lot of entrepreneurs that have, as you mentioned to me before, more time than money and are more than willing to roll up their sleeves and get busy. They just don't really know where to start on things.
Yeah. And we find that a lot. They just want clear direction. And, for an hour a week, once they get going, an hour a week, they can do all of next week's posts. Uh-huh. That's not a big amount. Maybe they want to do more posts. Well, 2 hours a week, and you can do 2 posts a day all week.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely something that I know I could manage.
Yeah.
I imagine there are a lot of entrepreneurs out there that could manage that kind of time commitment.
Yes. And there's a lot of them that they would like to do it themselves, but they think that they have to spend 4 and 5 hours a day, and they have to be able to be there when it's the right time to post. No, you don't have to. You just use a program that will schedule it for them.
Gotcha. Okay. So when I first met you, Boyd, you were doing newspaper way back when with the South Valley Journal.
That's right.
So how did this new venture of yours start out? What was it like when you first started out there?
Well, here's the thing. I've been doing some digital marketing since the 1990s. I did websites for some companies and I did a few things. Of course, they didn't have social media then, but we had figured out ways to get people's websites going. Now, I don't do websites anymore. Well, I do very minimal website stuff right now, but I have other people that I have do it for me or with me. And so that's how I started years ago. But when I had the newspapers back in 2006, I saw that digital media was going to be something that people were going to come to me and say, Boyd, I'm going to not run an ad in your newspaper anymore. I'm going to try this digital stuff. And I wanted to be able to say, I can help you with that. And that's what I did. So I started a digital agency inside of the newspaper. Now, an interesting story that goes along with that is I was selling the newspapers back in 2014. It's a guy that was about 32 years old. And about a week before we close on it, he gets hold of me and he says, Boyd, what's this digital agency thing? So I explained that we do, text messaging, email, and we do social media. And he looks at me and he says, Boyd, you do know that social media is a fad. It'll be gone in 2 years. I said, okay, that's fine. I'll just keep that side of it. And he kept part of it, but I kept most of it. And so now and when I left and after I'd sold the newspaper, I continued to doing helping people put together a digital marketing plan. In fact, I still do, marketing plans for them, both of digital and offline stuff. And I've helped people with their newspaper, but also with radio, television, billboards, bus signs, all those kind of things that I've helped people figure out how to do things, even how to do go to a expo and get more work from that.
Got it. Okay. So here you are out all on your own again and doing the digital marketing and all of that. Clearly you had a direction that you wanted to go with things. What internal and external factors were preventing you from being able to reach your desires there?
A lot of times the things that I run up against is people don't understand about how they can use the digital agency and digital marketing to actually be very strong at getting more prospects. They also don't understand that when you're using social media, it is a means of getting traffic somewhere. Now, most people use it to drive traffic to a website, and that's what it should be. But there are some people who don't understand that you can drive traffic to a brick and mortar business. I have one customer that he doesn't use a website. He doesn't want people to come to his location. He wants them to either call or email so that they can order the T-shirts that he has listed on his social media sites. So, it depends on what you want, but it's all about driving traffic to you. Now, the thing you have to remember, though, is you've got to have a good foundation of where I'm sending that traffic. I had a gentleman a few weeks ago who said, I'm just not getting any results from from what you're doing. And I'm looking at this and I'm getting 700 different people going to his website every week. And he's looking at it and saying, I'm not getting anything. Well, I looked at his website and I figured out very quickly why. His website wasn't about selling. It was all about having some fun on it. And he had, it was education and fun was the two things he was doing there. He had no offers on there. He had no way for them to even want to. He was training people how to go to their customer and ask them the right questions.
Yeah, I know for a fact that I need some work on my website because I've been sending a lot of people to a page on my website that just isn't producing for me.
Yeah. And that's the key. If you send a lot of traffic to somewhere, you've got to be able to have it so that if nothing else, you're capturing their email address so that you can stay in touch with them. But he had nothing of that. It was just a train. It was a blog site, really. And he didn't really have anything else going for it.
Got it. Well, it's nice to know that there is somebody out there that can help us with that.
Yep.
Be able to actually capitalize on the traffic rather than just driving it to an empty space.
Yes.
Great. So here you've got this great product and so many people that just don't understand what's going on back in the early days. What are some of the things that you tried in order to fix that problem?
You know, when we first started doing this, it was more banner ads. And it was interesting. We were putting banner ads on our newspaper website. And we got an offer from Target that for every click that we had, they would pay us $100. And I thought, that's pretty cool. Okay, we'll go with that. The only thing was their ad was not something that anyone would click. I mean, it had a website to go to, but what it was saying was this year's Christmas bear is now in stock at your local Target. Go there to pick up I got paid nothing that year for that ad.
Yeah,
I learned very quickly that you've got to pay attention to what it is. If they're just going to put it up there to show it off to people, and it was a banner ad, then I need to charge them differently than if it's something that's going to click them to their website. So, there's things like that you always have to pay attention to. There's also, on digital marketing, how much is too many times that you should be posting on social media? It's more than you think. Most people say, I don't want to post more than 2 or 3 times a week. And I'm going, you should be posting at least 5 times a week. And most people who do very well post in excess of 10 times a week. Right? So it's things I've learned over the years of how to get that so it works. And, same thing with an email. How often should you send out an email? Well, when you first start your email, you're telling the people, I'm going to send this every 2 weeks. Be sure to do it. If you're sending it and you just say, I'm going to send it more often, if they are looking at it and saying, I only signed up for every 2 weeks, and now I'm getting it twice a week, I'm going to drop off this email list. That's a problem. So you got to set your limitations, what your expectations for the customer is, and what your expectations are, and build that. And if you don't, you'll lose business.
Got it. That makes good sense. So back to the whole idea of being able to do things a little bit on your own. What was it that clicked? What was it that made you resolve to make that an option for people?
Well, I was doing the newspapers and I was doing the digital media stuff, and there was a lot of things. I was still doing websites on the side. And as I got going along, especially after I sold the newspapers, I got looking at it and saying, you know what? I can't be an expert SEO person. I can't be an expert on building websites and funnels and things like that, and be the best at it, and do social media and do email marketing. I got to figure out what I can do the best. And so I looked at it and I saw a big opening in social media. People just didn't know how to do it. It was new to them. Even today, it's still new to them. And they still say, I get nothing out of my social media. It's because you're not doing it right. And so that's why I focused and work mainly with social media. And it just keeps things going really well once you know how to do it. And so that's what I did. But I went from knowing a little about a lot of things to a lot about one thing. And that's, targeting your audience as well, helping them so that they know that when they're talking to me, they're talking about getting social media done.
Right.
Does that
So
make sense?
what kind of differences do you see, or what kind of problems are you faced with the different generations? You know, the baby boomers, the Gen X, then the millennials.
It's interesting. And I teach a whole class about figuring out where your prospects hang out online,
Uh-huh.
because that's really important. I had a customer that we were working with a few months ago, and they were going after their customers on on Facebook and on Twitter. And really, their number one area should have been Pinterest, because that's where their customers were hanging out. They
Okay.
didn't understand that. And so once we got so that they knew that, and we started targeting Pinterest, suddenly their sales took off. And another one that we do a lot with is Instagram. And it depends on, of course, as you mentioned, if they're Gen Xers or they're millennials or even the baby boomers, they each hang out different places. But sometimes where they hang out isn't where they pay attention to the advertising. So you got to know that too. And so the best way of doing that is talk to your current customers, find out where they hang out, and do they look at the ads when they're hanging out there? And if they're not, then where do they watch for ads? There's a lot of people who go to Instagram to find out about companies because it's very graphic and works really well at educating them and at showing them in a visual form, whether it be images or with videos. They love that. Facebook is more for the families and for other things. And Facebook's trying to get people to use them more for their business. And there is a lot of business that can be done on it, but you're still going to get more over on Instagram than you are on Facebook. And so unless you're going after the moms, here's the other side of it. If it's a stay-at-home mom versus a work mom, it's different as to where you're going to be able to speak to them and when you can speak to them, because you also need to know when to speak to them. So those are all the considerations that we look at, and we help our customers understand when is the right time to be posting.
Right. I have a lot of construction clients, and I imagine if I sent them your way, they'd spend a lot of their time on Instagram.
Yes.
It's very visual.
Right.
Okay.
It's funny. I work a lot with LinkedIn for business. But if you're trying to get to business people that are in the construction industry or the trades, you're wasting your time.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's much more white collar people that are on LinkedIn than it is the people who are doing the electrical or the plumbing or the roofing or building houses. They're much more on the other sites, and Instagram is the number one for that.
Got it. Okay. So social media was a very new thing at one point back when you were starting out. What kind of obstacles did you face trying to get into that game?
Well, again, it was it was really us trying to make sure we knew what we were doing when people said, I don't want to do your newspaper anymore because I want to try this social media, or before that it was digital media. Social media, the term social media didn't come about until about 2011. And so, that's when you started getting a lot of these. You did have Facebook before that, and you had others before them. You had a couple of different ones, including AOL, and there was Earthlink and Earth Sites that were all in there. But people didn't call it social media at that point. And so what they did was they were trying to figure out, where can I put banner ads? Who should I be doing this with? And there were a lot of companies who were out there saying, oh, our banner ads gets lots of views. And then you start looking at it and you're going, yeah, they're getting the views of one person 10 times, not 10 different people. So you got to be careful. And our biggest problem was knowing how to start helping customers. And we started that back in 2006, and it really did work. We had customers who were doing both the newspaper and the digital media together, and it really helped. In fact, we had one client that we did back then that was trying to build their social media so that it would be stronger when it became social media. So this was about 2010, and I was working with this client. And we were doing things on, so we had a website that was really stellar and converting. And then, but he wanted people to go to his Facebook page to come back and be driven there, because Facebook you could post to every day. You don't generally post to your website every day. And so he liked being able to talk to his clients more every day. So we were, in our newspaper ad, we were helping people to understand they can go and find out more information about him on his Facebook ad. And then his Facebook would then drive him to his website. And it was a great combination. So the newspaper, digital, wasn't digital at all. I mean, we did have a digital component, but most of his people came from just simply typing in, and it was great.
Got it.
So the problem was people didn't understand how they could utilize multiple things at once and how each of them could interact with each other.
That makes sense. I imagine you had quite an obstacle to overcome there in and of itself with educating people and getting them to understand what you do and all the different directions they can go with things.
True. But, one of the funny things was we'd have some of them that would go and say, oh, I'm going to go out of your newspaper, and no, I don't want to use you. I'm going to use this ad agency, or I'm going to use this person who's helping me. Well, they were always coming back about 6 months later because they got no business from that. It takes a while to build up your business on digital media, but it also has to be strategically done. And they didn't know how to strategically do it. The things I learned in the newspaper industry helped me with the digital industry. And people who were in the digital industry that had never been in the newspaper or the radio or the television industry, they had no idea. And so it gave me that advantage.
Great. Who were some of the key people that helped you be able to start educating and really understand the social media market?
So a lot of it was that there were a few people that I was learning from. Most people wouldn't even know who they are at this point, but Jeff Walker was one of them, and some people will recognize his name. But there were a lot of different articles being written by social media gurus at the time, although they were called digital gurus. And so I'd read those, and then I'd try some of their things. And when things weren't working quite as well, then I would modify them, and I'd get it so that I could figure out how to do it myself. And so a lot of it was being self-taught by me doing the test and evaluate, test and evaluate, test and evaluate. Okay, let's scale it from here because now it's working. And that's what helped me a lot. And I still do a lot of the test and evaluate small scale until I get it the right thing, and then we escalate it once we know what we're doing.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. A lot of trial and error, and elbow grease.
Yes. And that's helped me a lot because I tried it for myself with the newspapers and with other things that I had going.
Right. So what was it that finally spurred you to make a plan that people could do themselves?
Well, one of the things that let me step back. When I was going to school, I went to school in business administration. I never did get my MBA. But I loved the marketing and advertising side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I kept taking classes and kept taking classes, and then in 2004 or 5, I don't remember which year, I started taking some classes through an association, and I got my associates of advertising and marketing. And it was an amazing class. I had already been teaching a lot of these things, but now I understood why they worked and how they worked together with other things. So I became able to put multiple things together so I could sit down with someone and say, here's what you really need. I'd find out what they're looking for, what their goals were, what things they were trying to accomplish, what things they already had in place, what they've tried, what didn't work, and what did. So those were all the things that I could then evaluate and help them understand. Here's what you need going forward so you'll get the best results. So it was really taking some classes, and it ended up that I started teaching those classes to others that were just below me. And, when I was running the newspapers, I was teaching classes on how to do social media better. I was teaching classes on the pros and cons of using text messaging and how to get more results from text messaging and email marketing. And people were going, why are you doing that? That's not your main business. And I said, it's their main business that they need to be doing.
I really like that point of view, that you recognized what it was your clients needed and adapted to what they needed rather than forcing something on them.
Right. It doesn't do any good to put them into something that's not the right fit for them. And I'm always looking for that right fit. That's why the having the digital agency in the newspaper was really a good thing. And I was disappointed that the guy who bought it didn't see that vision. But that's okay, because it allowed me to continue doing what I do best.
Right. Well, good for you.
Yes.
So when you first start working with someone, how do you implement your plan? How do you go about starting down this road with someone?
Well, the first thing I want to know is what is their goal right up front? And it's interesting. I've found that many people, they tell me what their goal is, and then they tell me what they've been doing, because that's my second thing is, what have you been doing to accomplish it? What they're doing is not really going toward that goal. And so I help them understand that. And so I start with, what's your goal? What have you tried? What has worked and what hasn't? Because Henry Ford once said, I spend a lot of money on advertising. Half of it works. The other half doesn't. I just don't know which half is working. I want to figure that out. I want to help them figure that out. I had a dentist in Riverton that I was working with. He was spending $10,000 a month on advertising, had no way of knowing whether he was getting any return on it, other than people were coming in. But he didn't know what was working, what wasn't. And when I sat down and started evaluating it and asking people and giving them a survey, he was overspending by $7,000. $3,000 was what was really working for him, but $7,000 was just a waste of money. So once we figured that out, he got a $7,000 a month raise. And he was making less than his secretary, his scheduling person, who he was paying $12 or $13 an hour to sit at the front desk and do that. He was making less than that, and he couldn't figure out why. Well, then he suddenly figured out why. And that's the key. So you've got to figure out those two things, and then where do your customers hang out? And if you don't know, I'm going to give them an assignment to go and find out, because they need to know where their customers are coming from, where they're seeing things on social media, especially now. Do they respond to emails do they, and there's a lot of different questions I ask with that. And then once I get this done, what is it you're hoping to accomplish? Not the goal, but the accomplish, when they're being seen, what kind of feeling do you want it to do for them? What do you want that customer to feel? Do they want to feel like, I want to do business with this person because he's the right person, or is it, I'm trying to herd people into my business? There's a big difference with that. And I want them to learn sometimes that you get customers so that they know that they need to buy from you and want to do business with you, rather than you trying to sell them on getting the business done.
Got it. It sounds like you do a whole lot of educating throughout the whole process.
Yeah, I do.
Clearly a lot of obstacles to overcome as you're doing that, because of the level of ignorance that a lot of people have when it comes to marketing.
Well, it's funny. I get in with some people and I tell them some of these things. They go, "Oh, I learned that before. Oh, I haven't been doing that, have I?" And so a lot of times it's retraining them on things they've learned. But other times, if they're in a school like chiropractic school or dental school or other things, they have classes that teach you how to market yourself.
Uh-huh.
The problem is the marketing classes are 2 generations old. And so what was good in the 90s is not good today. And so it's updating them, bringing them into today's market and how to market today.
Got it.
That's even these that are just coming out of school. I mean, gee.
Uh-huh. And their marketing strategies that they're going out to implement are all outdated.
Faulty, yes. They don't do that anymore. Like, I get a lot of people who say, "Well, I understand I'm supposed to go and talk to the newspapers and to write press releases and get that all done." And I said, "Yeah, if you're going to do new press releases, there's a way of doing it." Well, I understand that, they want me to write for newspapers. Newspapers don't have people writing for them that are all about your industry any longer. That was the 1990s that they did that. It's now a whole different thing. You can market that online. It's called a blog post. And you can still do that, but now you got to drive traffic to it. So you got to start utilizing your advertising and your marketing differently. Oh.
Got it. Okay. What kind of results do you see when you're working with people and you have to start off educating them?
It depends. Like I was telling you just before we got on here about a gentleman who, he came to me and he says, "Boyd, I'm getting I'm not getting any business from your marketing." And I said, "Well, hold on a minute. Let's take a look." And I'm looking at it and I'm seeing a little over 700 people going to his website every single month from social media. And I said, "Well, okay, let's look at your website and see why you're not getting any sales." And as we get to his website, oh my gosh, it's all about having fun and educating. So what he's doing is he's educating them on, here's things you should be asking when you're going to be, and this is an HVAC company. Here's things you should be looking for when you hire someone to put in a new air conditioner. Here's, things have changed with the air conditioning. You've got to have instead of R22 or whatever it is, you got to have this. And he's educating them. But what was happening was he was educating them to the point where they were going and calling all the people that they found otherwise and asking those questions. But he was never giving his answers. He was never letting them know he could do the job for them. He never let them know he was actually in that business as well. So, that's the education process. And suddenly he said, "Oh, do I need a new website?" Well, how about you have a new strategy with your website? And so he's been building a new website, and it's now done, and he's now getting lots of people. And about of those 700, we're still sending him about 700 people a month. He's now getting about 80 or 90 people a month of new business.
Oh,
Now, it's not
wow.
always putting in a new furnace or an air conditioner.
Right.
Sometimes it's doing maintenance. Sometimes it's doing, repair of it's cleaning ducts. And so it's different because now he's got a strategy where he can they can get to the thing they need most. Not just let's train you about everything.
Right. Right. That's great. Little education goes a long way.
Yes.
As long as it's in the right areas, like you pointed
Right.
out.
Yeah.
Great. What has changed most about your business as you've implemented the helping people out? I mean, I imagine it's a fairly scary thing to say, all right, I'm going to teach you how to do it, and potentially lose business and then just leave that out there for them.
It can. So the key is still being kind of a coach at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And a coach is somebody who's going to hold you accountable for the things that you've taught them. And so that's part of it. Some don't want that. Some just want the education, and then they're going to do it their own way, whether it's right or wrong. And that's okay if that's what they're looking for. But, one of the things that, you started asking about the educating people and the keeping up with social media, it changes every week.
Right.
And so it may not be Facebook this week, but it is most weeks. It might be Instagram. It might be Twitter. It might be Pinterest. It might be LinkedIn. It might be Google My Business. Those are the things that you have to know. What are the new changes? What new things are they doing that will allow people to utilize them better? Like Instagram recently added Reels to it. Now they have 4 different ways of using videos now. And so you have your standard, put the video in a post, you have stories, you have IGTV, and now Reels. Each one of them go to different sets of people. Each one of them should be used differently. But most people are trying to, I'll use it on all 4. No, you're not. Because, Reels and stories are in a vertical format. So holding your phone like this, and taking that picture. And so that's where the IGTV and the other is like this. However, on the regular posting, it only takes and makes it a square. It's not all the way across, unless you do some fancy finagling. But if you do the fancy finagling, you lose how much of it gets to be seen as well. So there's things that you need to know, and it's always changing. It's always going in a different direction, it seems like. And so I got to stay up on top of that. And that's part of why I said I can't do SEO changes every day, it seems like, too. So I'm not going to do SEO. I've got a partner who does that because I can't keep up with just my social media. And he looks at it and he says, social media, I don't want anything to do with it. It changes too often. I'm going, well, that's how I feel about SEO.
Yeah.
So that gives you some ideas.
Got it. Well, what has changed most about you throughout the years?
I've learned that I can't do everything for everyone. I can only narrow it down. I can give them a good comprehensive marketing plan, but if they need it to be implemented, I'm going to send them to people who can help them implement those parts that I don't do. Because I don't try to do the television ads and the radio ads and the newspaper ads anymore. But if they need video, I'm going to send them to a videographer. If they need a new website, I've got a website person. They need SEO, I'm going to send them there. I want to just help them with their social media, but I can give them a wide and understandable reason for what they need to do in all areas. Then I send them to the people that they need to go to. So to me, it was all about realizing I can't do everything for everyone. That's, it's better to have experts in those fields take care of them.
Yeah, it's very disciplined and mature way to run your business, to find a niche and then network for everything else.
Yes.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being on again today. Loved having you and look forward to working with you more in the future here.
Well, thank you very much, Jeremy, for inviting me to be on. It's fun to do these kind of things.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have you introduce yourself one more time and let us know how we can contact you if we have any questions or want to use your services.
Okay. I'm Boyd Peterson. I run Big Picture Media. You can see it right up there. We do social and digital media, and that it really sums it up. To get a hold of me, the best way to get a hold of me is you can email me at boyd@B as in Baker, P as in Paul, or Big Picture media.com. So bpmedia.com. And then if you want to find out about solutions that I have, one of the best places to go is on my website. Go to BP Media and then go to well, there's a couple areas. You can go to social media, or you can go to resources. Resources gives you lots of different resources you can use. Some are free, some you pay for. But they're all things that I use myself, and I recommend them to my clients all the time. So if you're trying to do social media marketing, I have a social media posting program. If you want to do, and coming up here in the next little bit, I'm going to have a social media challenge that I'll be doing. And that will show up on my website as well when we get the dates all set and everything ready to go. So it'll probably be the end of April we'll do that. But resources is the big one that most people go to, and they find all kinds of things there.
Great. Thank you very much. And thank you for watching or listening or reading the People in Your Neighborhood show. And we look forward to talking with you again next time. Oh, these are the people in your neighborhood, in your neighborhood, in your neighborhood. Oh, these are the people in your neighborhood. They're the people that you meet when you're walking down the street. They're the people that you meet each day.